Intense clashes on Monday as fighters backed by Turkey engaged with a US-backed Kurdish militia just a few dozen kilometers from the Syrian Kurdish enclave of Afrin. For the Turkish commander leading the operation from across the border, the military offensive is actually in the interest of peace, thus the name Operation Olive Branch.
We are preventing the Islamic State group and YPG from expanding to our country, as well as other countries, to carry out actions against peace and tranquility. Our aim is to achieve stability and peace for our country and for the region.
On Saturday, Ankara launched air and artillery strikes, followed by a cross-border incursion of Turkish troops. Their goal, to crush the Kurdish YPG militia, who they consider terrorists, and drive them out of Afrin. The YPG makes up the biggest part of the alliance known as the Syrian Democratic Forces. The SDF says they may bring in reinforcements to meet the Turkish advance.
The Turkish army has started the attack on Afrin, which will be a quagmire from which it will only exit after suffering great losses.
The SDF and the YPG are supported by the US, having played a major role in dislodging the Islamic State group from its Syrian strongholds. The Afrin district shelters some 800,000 civilians, some already displaced by earlier fighting in the Syrian civil war. France, Russia, and the US have all called on Turkey to act with restraint to avoid civilian casualties.
But according to a militia spokesperson, Turkey has also shelled parts of northeastern Syria, which is mostly under YPG control. The YPG has been a key US ally in the fight against the Islamic State group, and this Tuesday America's defense secretary added to US calls for restraint. France is issuing the same message, its defense minister warning of other such conflicts as the focus shifts from the Islamic State group. With the latest on Turkey's operation, here's Jasper Mortimer in Ankara.
The Turkish armed forces said earlier today that it had advanced 11 kilometers into Afrin. By now it's probably gone further than that, overrunning 15 villages. Just now we have heard that the Turkish army claims to have knocked out 18 YPG positions. But the Turkish army is also suffering its first casualties. A sergeant was killed yesterday, a lieutenant was killed today. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which is the most authoritative monitoring group of the Syrian civil war, says so far more than 50 combatants have been killed. About half of them are Kurds with the YPG, and about half of them with the Free Syrian Army, the Arab allies of the Turkish army in this operation. The observatory also says 24 civilians have been killed, 22 by Turkey, 2 killed by Kurdish forces. Most disturbingly, the Syrian Kurdish spokesman has said that Turkish artillery fired at Kamishli and other towns in northeastern Syria today. Now, Kamishli Hasakea is a Kurdish region in northeastern Syria at the opposite end of Syria to Afrin, where the main operation is taking place. And Kamishli Hasakea has overwhelmingly a Kurdish population. In Afrin, there is a substantial Arab population, although Kurds are in the majority in Afrin. But Kamishli Hasakea is overwhelmingly Kurdish. Now, up until now, in the Syrian civil war, Kamishli Hasakea has been an island of stability in the storm of the civil war. It's been the one place where NGOs and Westerners have been allowed to go without fear of being kidnapped. And I fear that if this report of Turkish artillery shelling is true, then the YPG will return fire, and then the Turkish government will tell the world, we're going into Kamishli Hasakea because that is inhabited by terrorists as well. And so what has been an island of stability will become unstable.